the 75th anniversary of Porsche. Back in 1948 is when the first Porsche 356 came off the line, and here we are to celebrate it at Chandler Porsche in Chandler, Arizona. Well, right out of the gate, this is the 000 magazine car. It's a Porsche magazine. And as you can see, print isn't dead. It's one of those magazines that are in print that are still surviving. Cool car. That is awesome to see print magazines still alive, because as you know, I did 9 magazine. Maybe you didn't know that, but I did a Porsche magazine back in the early 2000s called 9, which is all about Porsche and Porsche automobiles. So very cool to see this turbo 911 here. We'll walk inside the dealership, take a look at what else they have. Of course, being a Porsche dealer, they're going to be showing off all the newest models, which is cool. Not, would love to get me a 992, 911, but not for probably like 20 more years when I can find one for cheap and fix it up, because that's just how we roll around here at the Arrowhead Garage. Very cool neon green racer. Little Burger King action going on with this. As you know, Porsche is big into motorsports. Porsche has more championships than any other manufacturer, which says something, because duh, Porsche's the best. All right, let's walk inside into the dealership and let's see. Now, Lisa and her husband own the dealership. I've met them a few times at different Porsche Club events. So let's check out what's going on inside here. The new electric Taycan. I give me my oil-burning, gas-chugging engines before you give me an electric vehicle just yet. But as time moves on, if this is the way we're going, I might have to find one of these Taycans. They're faster than a Tesla. Just saying. Pretty cool car, 4 doors, get the family around, and that 911 Porsche driving experience on the inside. Again, lots of electronics, and I'm still just old school. That's where you fill it up at right there. Here's what kind of started this whole Porsche thing. This is a Porsche 356. I love this like burgundy maroon color on this car. Looks to be a late or mid-60s, early 60s car. Now, I'm not an expert on the 356s, so don't hold that against me. But very cool cars. As you can see, the 3-dial, that's what Porsche started off with. And the center tack is always a tack. And then you have your miles per hour on one side, and then your multiple instruments cluster on the other side. Gonna give you a front there, that 356, kind of that bug/911 look. This is the 1989 Porsche Speedster 911 Cabriolet. Only 1 year, 1989. Very unique car. You can see those double humps there, kind of keeping everything in the back. I love that speed yellow. And again, there's that classic 5 gauge for a 911. So the 912 like I have originally came with a 3 gauge until about 67 or 66, when you could get a 5 gauge cluster, as like I do in my car. And of course, there's that famous G-body smile, that little black rubber strip there that Porsche did. It's called the Porsche Smile. But you can see that windshield is super slung down low. It's not as tall as a typical car. Here we have a Porsche 914. This is Porsche's first commercial or first consumer car. 914 has the motor in the rear. So underneath the word Porsche there, that hatch pops up. You have a motor. And you have a trunk in the back. And you got a trunk in the front. Plus the top comes off. You can kind of see the dash here. That 3 gauge cluster going back to the roots of the 356. And that black top comes completely off. It is a Targa. Going around the front here. Pop-up headlights. And again, the gas tank's up front. But you also have space in the front for luggage. So it's a dual trunk. Kind of like the Boxster, which the Boxster has 3 dials. Notice anything here? Cool looking door handles on the 914s. There's that classic 3 gauge setup. Of course, the tachometer right there in the middle. Let's see what else we have here. Looks like a 997. So this was like 2005 to 2008 or 9. Somewhere in there. This was the 911 of that era. And of course, still the 5 gauges. Kind of hard to see with the window up here, but swing around to the front. These were the headlights that brought Porsche back to what some purists say is normal. The 996 had the fried egg headlights, which I didn't mind at all. So here is probably like a mid-70s 911. See that smile bumper right there? That's that G-body. Of course, looking around here, got the fogs. This is a Targa. So the targa is just like the blue 914 behind it. The whole roof comes off. And here you can see the roof is detached from the car, giving you that kind of convertible feel to your vehicles. Now, Porsche did not make a convertible 911 until like 1983 or 84. Somewhere in there did Porsche finally come out with their first cab in the 911. This is a 911S, so that must be, it's a, I would say, 75, 76 911. Of course, you see the 5 gauges, tachometer right there in the middle. That's where it should be. And of course, the key, the ignition switch is on your left-hand side as well. And the reason why Porsche did that was for speed at the 24 Hours Le Mans. Let's walk down here. Ah, look, look, look. There's a classic. There's the first gen. Nice. This is what I have, or the same body style. This is that first generation 911, 912, or what Porsche called the 901. And again, when Porsche named it the 901, 72. See this right here? That is where you add oil to your Porsche. It's not a gas fill. It is an oil fill port. Oh, little damage. That's okay. Little patina. So this is a 72 2.4 injected, or it could have carbs on this one, 911. Very cool car. Those rear glass pops out. Now notice in 72, no more vent window. Just like most auto manufacturers, they went away with the vent window and left it just a non-movable piece of glass. Very cool. Love the Fuchs on this car. Next here we have one under construction. This looks to be maybe an SC, but it is a target top, so you can kind of see how things are laid out. The floors are darn near flat. That tunnel right there is actually above. It doesn't go below. It's flat completely on the bottom. Kind of give you a look at that engine bay and how everything is set up. Very cool to see one being restored. Torsion bar covers are off as well. Kind of give you a look here in the front. Now see those black loops right there by those horns? That is the oil cooler. So the 911s, starting at I think 77 or 78, this is an 80, started to run the oil to the very front of the car in a loop. That loop was the radiator. So by the time it ran the loop and came back to the motor, that oil was a little bit cool. This is a CIS, continuous injection, probably a 3-liter. It's the original motor out of this 1980. Now, 356 Outlaw. See this right here? This is a Jake Raby special. I can almost guarantee it. A down the middle setup. This is essentially the same motor I have in my 67 912. Is it a Type 4 motor, which is also what that blue 914 had in it. So the Type 4 motor, very versatile motor, but it has the down the middle. Back to that classic 3-gauge setup. This is what in the Porsche world we call an Outlaw, which is a car that's not factory original with those Nerf bars in the front. Definitely a different look, Outlaw class. Back to that classic G-style. Now the G-body here was made from 74 to 89. A huge run for this body style. Now they did make some little adjustments here and there, but for the most part, the 74 to 89 cars, 911s, are almost identical as far as the outside is concerned. Of course, gas filler right there. Into one of the more modern cars, 911 here, 911 Turbo. And again, if you gave me one, I'd drive it, but I'm just too old, I guess. I like my old cars. So I'm going to whip past a lot of these newer cars. Another Turbo right there. The Turbos all have the scoops up on the rear fender there, so you can tell a Turbo. See, each one of those has a scoop on it. And then this one here has no scoop, so it's not a Turbo. Come around here, people waiting in line. They were giving away freebies. I just didn't have time to stand in line for something free that says Porsche on it. So we'll walk past these guys here. And Chandler Porsche, there's 2 dealerships in Phoenix, actually 2 in Phoenix and 1 in Tucson. Oh, what do we have stuck over here? What is this? This looks like an early 70s 911. I'm thinking, no, yeah, see those plastic air inlets? The black ones by the orange turn signals, that tells me it's a early 70s long wheelbase car. Just going to get a little closer. And this is a 904. This is another rear engine, mid-engine layout that Porsche had. The first ones were 4 cylinders, then they became 6 cylinders, and I believe in the 70s, early 70s, late 60s, Porsche stuffed a 8 or a 10 cylinder flat motor into these cars. These were very dominating cars on the racetrack out there. All right, let's move along towards the back lot here. Have another 911. Looks to be got the smile, so it's a modified car. Oh, check out the headlights. That's pretty cool. I like that. Back to a looks like a 997, or possibly a Boxster. This looks to be a late 80s 911. An 86 or 87 924S. So a 924S from 86 or 87 has the more powerful 2.5 944 Porsche motor in it, but with the old 924 body, sleeker, more slimmer body style on the cars. I've had two of these. I've had a 78 non-turbo and an 80 turbo model. And again, not with the same motor. This is the earlier motors, which were a 2-liter, which actually was an Audi 100 motor. But that's a whole different story there. Kind of look inside. It also has a 3-gauge layout in the 924s. 944s had 3 gauges for a few years, and then in 86 and a half, they switched over to a more modern, almost a 5-gauge. Back to the iconic 911 that most of us know. Another red 356. This looks to be like a 63 or 64. Another 911. A 968. So, Porsche front engine 4-cylinder motors. 924, late 70s. All through the 80s was the 944 we saw. Then in the 90s, Porsche came out with this 3-liter 4-cylinder car called the 968. And this is the best of the transaxle cars, because these cars here have the transmission on the rear wheel with the engine up front and then a torque tube going to the back. 968 cab, love these cars. I wish I could find a convertible 968. Here's that more modern dash, kind of a 3 gauge, but more of a 5 gauge to kind of mimic the 911 there. And the cool headlights. And those headlights actually pop up and forward, so they actually become vertical when you apply lights. And another 911. That's a Boxster there. See the inlet by the tire. That is a Boxster. And then again another 911. This might be. See how Porsche goes all the way across. This is probably a SC. So it's a late 70s, early 80s car. A lot of guys take those big rubber bumpers off and put the smaller 74. Factory sunroof car. That is cool. And again, that classic 5 gauge with the tachometer in the middle. You can see the ignition switch right there on the left. Go to the front here. Like I said, 74 to 89, those cars all pretty much look the same throughout those years. The changes were mostly the engines and transmissions. More Porsches, more Porsches, more Porsches. All right, here's a 944 Turbo. This would have been a late 80s car. Notice how the front end is more together, more aerodynamic. Look up on this. And you can also tell by the rear bumper and the front bumper, it is a turbo car, or at least a turbo look-alike. Now the sunroof on top. Some 924s did not have the sunroof. All the 944s did. But definitely a turbo. But that top roof normally was solid. You couldn't see through it. During the late 80s, there were a bunch of companies that made a clear plexiglass top that you could switch out. And more modern 4-gauge design, kind of mimicking the 911. And of course that brown. Back to that nose. This is the, if I had to buy a coupe or even a convertible, I would like a 944 S2 Cabriolet if I could find one, black on black. And of course we have our water pumper 911s and our 718s. The 718 cars were all 4-cylinder turbo models Porsche made here about 10 years ago or so. Some tricked out GT3. These are legal sports race cars on the road. It is a race car that you can drive to work every day. And a lot of guys do. Here's a 968 coupe. So the other one we saw was a convertible. Same thing. You can see the lines of the 944 and the 924 in this line. And of course they get more curvaceous and more blustrous around the edges on these cars. Have a look inside. See, that's how the top is supposed to come. It's body colored. It's not see-through. He has a aftermarket wing on it. Zippy! That is a cool car. I like it. And another 356C. So the C, there was an A, B, and C. Obviously, the A's came out in the early 50s, and then the B's came out in the late 50s, and the C's came out in the early 60s. Some more 911s. These all look to be turbo cars, GT3s maybe. Very cool. Porsche's always had a thing about color, and they're interesting. More modern Targa. Let's see what else we have here. People stand in line for the free merchandise. Very cool. All right, making our way through. Beautiful Saturday morning here in Chandler, Arizona. Got us some more of the water pumper cars. That's just where I refer to the more modern 1997 and newer Porsches. Most of them have water-cooled motors. Now, this burgundy one right here, this is the 993 911. This came out from like 94, 95 to about 97, 98, depending on where in the world you're at. This is the last of the air-cooled 911 motors. And I bet you it's a turbo with that wing, and it is a turbo. Oh, this car here is worth every penny. You're going to spend probably 120 grand, 130 grand right now to find one of these cars. But again, it is the last of the air-cooled. We'll walk over here to this beautiful 356. Probably can't see much in there, but again, the interior did not change much in these Porsches. Now, hopefully we'll find a early 90s 964 Porsche 911. Can't tell you about that one. Here we go with another 356 coupe. Now, this red 944, it's an 83 944, and it's owned by a guy who actually has a YouTube channel. So if you're into 944s and we watch videos on him upgrading this car and restoring it, go check out Take Flight Garage over on YouTube here. I'll put a link down below for him. 944. He's a pilot and also has this beautiful 944 car. Go check his channel out. I just started watching his videos. Pretty cool. He's doing some awesome work to it. And again, the 83 was the first year for the 944. It was a 924 basically with a 2.5 liter inline fuel injected motor. My other favorite, the 928. This car here was supposed to replace the Porsche 911 sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. And it is a V8 front-mounted water-cooled motor. It is fast, but it rides like a Cadillac. It's an experience. I had an 84 928S with a 5-speed. Most of these cars came with automatics, but there were a few 928s that did have the stick shifts in them with a 5-speed. Very cool car. This car has all the aluminum composite bumpers or fenders and stuff. Very lightweight car. Nice. Now, if I could find a 95 GTS, which would have been the last model year of one of these cars, badass. Oh, check this out. There's even air conditioning in the back for your back passengers if you could fit anyone back there. Kind of a cool little feature. And it's an automatic car. And now, the 928 had an interesting dashboard. The dashboard, when you went to lower or raise the steering wheel, the dashboard went with the steering wheel. So it just wasn't the wheel. The whole dash moved up and down with you. Another 356, looks like a cab and a cabriolet, a convertible, and a coupe. Check it out. I love how in the 356s, the body kind of overlaps the wheel, and the wheel's tucked up underneath. Here is another an 83 944. I had an 83 944, just like this, but in blue. That is the typical 2.5 liter inline four. A lot of Porsche guys will tell you that the 944's inline four, the 2.5, is just half of the Porsche 928's V8, which is sort of true, but there's no interchangeability in parts. Looks like we may have an original owner over here. Very cool. This has the so this here has the newer motor for the 944. 83 was the first year, but it had the classic 3-gauge square boxy dash of the 924s. It wasn't until 86 when Porsche went with a more rounded dashboard for the 944s. Nice 911 Carrera. So we got back here 2.7. So I had a 74 911 Carrera Targa. It was the 66th Carrera Targa ever built. 74 was the first year. Classic, again, that 5-gauge with the center being the tack. My 75 911 or 74 911 Carrera had a 2.7, also fuel injected. The 2.7 motors had a bad rap because you had an engine block made of magnesium, you had cylinder heads made out of aluminum, and then you had solid steel connecting studs that held it all together. And of course, all three of those metals had different heat thermal transfer rates, and you'd pull motors apart. Cool looking Cayenne with the Porsche tent system. And here, oh, this is cool. This is a Porsche 550 Spider. More than likely, it is a replica. This is the car that James Dean died in February of 1955. No, he was born in February. He died August 30th of 1955 in one of these cars. If it's an original. If it's an original, it's worth millions. So it's probably a kit car here. So it's on a VW chassis, or it's on a Beck Speedsters have a tubular chassis. And see, another GT2 RS. Bunch of GT3s and GT2s here. And some more modern 911s. This looks like a 993. Yep. 991, I think that is. GT3. There's a 992. And here's a Cayman. Now, a Cayman is basically a Boxster that's a hardtop. So all Porsche Boxsters are convertibles. The Cayman, which came out in 2006, this is basically a hardtop Boxster. Mid-engine, you have a trunk, you have a hatchback in the back, which makes it super convenient for transporting luggage and things. I would like to have a black Cayman S. Here looks like a 1973 911 RS. Could be original, could be a replica. These were the Carreras back then. Another 356. Gotta love it. Man, there was more people here at the show than what I would imagine. I didn't think there'd be that many people. All right, continuing on here, walking down this row. This is my baby right here. This is what I have. This is a short wheelbase 911. Wait, no. It's a 68 912. You can tell by the door handles. I'll show you here in a minute. 912. Basically, the 911 and the 912 had the same exact body. The changes, the only difference were the motors. One had a 6, one had a 4-cylinder in it. Kind of look down in there. That's not a factory grille, but that's okay. You can see the rear pop-out windows, one of the things the early cars had. And you can see it has, well, maybe you can't see it. But see, there's the door handles, a little bit different. On the 68s, they have like a protector around the actual button. Very cool 912. It's a 68. Love it. Another 914. Checking it out. It has a few wheels on it. And again, the 914 was the only Porsche not to have a front emblem. So if you do see a Porsche with a front emblem 914, someone put it on afterwards. And the originator, the Volkswagens, of course, you know, they are a cousin to the Porsches. And whose Corvette is this? Oh my goodness. All right, back to more Porsches. There's another Boxster. It's Boxster S. Looks like another 911. And yet another 911. And of course, these are more modern cars. And yet more Porsches. Let's go check these out. Now, here's a 996 Gen 2. The headlights are a little bit different. They changed the headlights on the 911 in 2002 to 2004 to this style instead of what they used to call the fried egg look. Kind of a cool car. I really do dig the fried egg look headlights and these headlights of the 996s. Another Boxster. Another 911. And we're getting to, this next car here. Cool, I like that Porsche script. This is a Porsche 911 964. The 964s were 1990 to I believe 94, 95. Again, air-cooled, but if you notice, it's starting to become more roundy and more aerodynamic, more flowing of lines in these cars here. Now, it still looks the same. That dashboard will continue to look the same up until the modern cars. And from Dubai, oh, you may be from out of town. All right, another 911, more 911s, more modern 911s. So many 911s, which that's is what the company's known for. Although, factoid here, the Boxster saved Porsche out of bankruptcy in the early 90s. Early 90s, the recession that was going on, Porsche was feeling that pinch, and it was the Boxster that brought them out of bankruptcy almost and put them back on where they are today. Kind of like Apple, one of those type situations. Another Cayman there. Nice 911. Another 944. Looks to be a track car. They've got some looking carbon fiber hood. Now this could be a turbo bumper sit on a normal 944. Another 911. And BMW. Really? Oh my god. Can we just move along? You know what? I'm not going to show you guys. You're going to have to look at my feet for a minute here. I'm walking past this McLaren. I'm passing this BMW. And okay. Oh, this here's Chris's car. So Chris came up to me at the show and recognized me and said, "Hey, Arrowhead Garage." And I was like, "Yep, that's me." Got a chance to meet him. He's been watching my Porsche Boxster videos for a while. Picked up one of my shirts online. He said so. Chris, if you're watching this, remember to hit me up for some free stickers. I'll pop them in the mail to you. That is his Boxster S. Very cool car. 2000 model, I believe is what he said. And of course, see the 3 gauges. That's what kind of made the Boxster unique. It kind of took in that back road to the 356 and kind of that 914 model with that. And of course, the Boxster is mid-engine, like the 914, so you have a trunk on both ends, or a frunk in the front. Another 993 911, that mid-90s car. The last of the air-cooled. Can't get enough of these cars. I want one of every year. Well, yeah, no. Not quite. Looks to be a 997 911. So these came out in 05, 06, 07, 08, possibly 09. It's a C4S. So this is a 4-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive 911. Still got the classic 5 gauge, and of course your tachometer right there in the middle. And these are the headlights that kind of put Porsche back into the realm of just circles. Remember, the 996s, early 2000 cars had the fried egg headlights, and hopefully we'll find one and I can show you what those look like. Looks like a Macan or a Cayman. The Macan is the smaller of the 2 SUVs that Porsche has. Let's see, what do we got back here? Another 911, another Cayman. Has the old racer wing on it. And again, oh, that was for sale. Another Cayman right next to it. Cayman S. They're everywhere. They've overloaded even the Subaru parking lot with Porsches. Ha ha! Love it! Alright, so here's a, I believe that is a Panamera. So this was a, like, 2010, 2012-ish time period. Porsche came out with the Panamera, which was a 4-door 911, essentially. They did their best to try to make the car look like a 911, but with 4 doors. And I had one for a day or two while my 911 was being serviced back in 2017 or 18. And I actually enjoyed it. I would possibly buy one when those prices come down. Here's an inside look of a modern 911, and that is the PDK transmission. It is automatic, but this PDK transmission learns how you drive and then begins to shift faster and better for you than a manual transmission. Alright guys, this is going to wrap it up here from Chandler Porsche in Chandler, Arizona for the 75th anniversary of Porsche cars coming to us. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to get back to working on my 67 912 2-liter motor rebuild and hopefully have some videos coming later on in the summer. Thanks so much guys. We will see you again. Have a great one.